What's up, traders? John Howell here, officialjohnhowell.com, and in this video I have something awesome to show you in this video. It's based on the ES chart only, the S&P 500, and an awesome trading charting pattern that will help you in trading the markets in any area. So anyway guys, let's get straight into it.
Do not place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video today, because trading is risky and it can cause substantial financial loss. There are so many areas you need to become good at to become a good trader. Emotional mastery, chart reading, trading systems, money and trade management. So this video is just educational only to help you become a much better trader.
Alright, so let's get straight into it. It's Friday morning right here. I know it's been a huge week for me, but I wanted to get this video out for you guys because I really want to share with you some stuff with you that I'm seeing on the charts. Now let's move this camera. Let's do some. Ooh, how we going there? We good there? We good there? Cool. Let's do this. Turn it a little bit. Oh. There we go. Cool. Alright, so I found something really interesting on the charts. Lately I've been saying we're due for a pullback, and we are. Basically yesterday, looking at the markets, that was basically nothing day this morning. Looking at the markets, I just finished trading just then. Thought I'd pop up the camera and do this recording. And looking at the charts after doing my trading this morning, obviously most indices we didn't do much apart from the Russell. The Russell had a bit of a pullback. But the interesting thing is this, guys, is that the last sort of week or so, I've been saying we're due for a pullback. And if you look at the weekly basis, we're due for a pullback, because the weekly charts where we are right now is weekly charts are having a support here or resistance here. Plus we've got this long-term trend line where the market's been bouncing off, and now we're coming up to this point here. Make sense? So that's where the weekly charts are, and that's what's happening on the weekly charts. But I thought, yeah, but the market can turn around on the weekly charts, but it might take some time for that to turn around on the weekly chart. You know what I mean? So I thought, is there something that I'm not seeing here that is helping me identify when the turn is likely to happen, when we're actually likely to start getting that pullback? See, what's been happening now on the actual charts, on the S&P 500, Dow Jones, not the Russell, Nasdaq, we've just been going up. And I'm thinking, we're due for a pullback. Yes, we are due for a pullback. We all know we're due for a pullback. Is there something on the chart? Is there something on the chart that is going to help me identify when that pullback is likely to happen? And I thought, let's go check that out, right? Because that's what we're after, right? We all know that this market is really overextended, and we know it's due for a pullback, right? We all know that. And a lot of people have been saying it, I've been saying it, but I thought, hang on a minute, instead of just keep calling the downside, the market keeps holding up, what am I missing here? Because for the last week I've been calling the downside. Now, fortunately for me, I've had a lot of positions that I've traded. Been very fortunate for me lately. But the thing is this: is that I think to myself, what am I missing? Is there something that I'm missing? And this is going to really help you out here. Now get this here, okay? Get this. And this is actually what I noticed on the charts. I think, oh my goodness, I want to share this with you. So check this out here, okay? Let me get my rubber here. Can someone remind me to get new markers? I need to get better markers. Anyway, so what I noticed on the chart was this, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so obvious and it's so simple, and I've been teaching this for a while. I just didn't pick this up. And sometimes we need to step back, you know what I mean? Sometimes step back and say, what's going on here? Look at the charts and start to ask different questions, right? So, and that's something that there's something actually bringing that up right now. Something I want you guys to keep asking is asking better questions, you know? So for me, my question was, yeah, we're going to get a pullback, we're going to get a pullback, we're going to get a pullback, we're going to get a pullback. Yeah, Christmas is coming too. It actually is. But, you know what I mean? It's like, I was like, okay then, we're still going to get a pullback. But what is the ingredients? What is there something? What is the signal on the chart? Not an indicator, but what is the signal on the chart that we're likely to get a pullback? Because all the indicators are overbought. All of them are. But I had to ask myself a better question. Sometimes those better questions, it gets better answers, right? So what is that signal on the chart that is going to help me identify when that pullback is likely to happen. Well, check this out. So we saw the weekly resistance there a minute ago, right? We saw what happened there. I've been talking about that all week. So check this out. The market, and to me this was so simple, but I'm just like, oh my goodness. When the market goes through these, what we call extended runs, normally the market does this, right? The market runs up, and then it pulls back, and then it runs up, and then it pulls back, and it runs up, right? Creating peaks, and higher troughs, right? And when the market goes down, you know, we're doing the same, lower peaks and lower troughs. But I thought there's also these times, right? There's also these phases in the markets. So that's the one phase. But the second type of phase is when the market just does this. Do you know what I mean? And so that's the second type of phase there's two different types of phases that the market goes in. Or actually really three. There's higher peaks, higher troughs, lower peaks, lower troughs, an extended upward run, an extended downward run, or just simply, you know, sideways movement. Makes sense? Which you can read in the peaks and troughs. That's the key. The peaks and troughs. Okay? Peaks and troughs. That's the key on the chart. So when the market's going sideways, it's making higher peaks, lower troughs, and all that sort of stuff's going sideways. When the market's in an uptrend, we're making higher peaks, higher troughs. When the market's in a downtrend, we're making lower peaks and lower troughs. When the market's in a extended run and we're saying this is likely to get a pullback and it just has an extended run, what is the ingredient on the chart that's going to help us identify when that pullback is likely to happen? Well, look at the peaks and troughs, right? Look at the peaks and troughs. When the market, let me get a different marker here. When the market has these troughs here, it doesn't have a good pullback, doesn't have a decent pullback. Like it might, sometimes, you know, something like 0.38 or 38% retracement, you know what I mean? That's what we call at least an okay pullback. A good pullback is 50% retracement. But sometimes, have you noticed these extended runs that we've been getting this year and the last couple of years, in those phases, those extended runs, the troughs are smaller. So you can see here, it just has like 1 or 2 down days. It doesn't even have a retracement, 1 or 2 down days, and it makes a little trough and it runs back up. It comes down, another 1 or 2 down days, makes a little trough and runs back up. And I've noticed, hang on a minute, it's making these higher troughs, small little higher troughs on the daily chart. So by looking at that, I started noticing a pattern. I started noticing a pattern out of all the things, and we're going to get to the charts in a minute, I'm going to share this with you. I started noticing that sometimes, and let's just take this everything off the screen here, everything off the board here, and I'll show you what I mean here. Sometimes the pattern I recognized, guys, was this, where the market would run up, little trough, run up, little trough, run up, little trough, run up, and then sometimes the market would start to do this. Do you know what I mean? It'll go sideways. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And it wasn't until, guys, that when the market does that, it wasn't until that it actually broke the trough, not the peak, but looking at the peaks and troughs, right? So what I mean by that is this, is that by looking at that there, you can see, I need to get myself a little bench thing here. You can see here that it ran up, made a peak, and then it came down, made a trough, ran up, made another peak, came down, made another trough. Now noticing this trough hasn't been broken yet, right? So we're still getting equal troughs, or at least higher troughs, alright? So this is the key here, looking at the troughs here, okay? And then something what happens, it comes back up and it breaks that trough. This here, that point there, is the indication that we're likely to now get the pullback. Because the weekly charts say we're going to get a pullback. The indicators are going to say we're going to pull back. What's the daily chart saying? The daily chart's saying right now that we're not likely to get a pullback. Okay? What is the signal on the chart that says what are we likely to get a pullback? And it's just that. And sometimes, actually a lot of times, and I'll get to the charts in a minute, you'll be able to, you see that it'll run up, make a little trough, run back up, it'll break past this high here, it'll fail, and then it'll break this trough. Really little, okay? We're talking really little. That's that point there. This is This is the scenario that I'm looking for now to say if we are likely to go down. So anyway guys, that's what I do see on the charts. I want to take you to the ES chart right now, the S&P 500, and I want to share this with you because this is a different phase that I think is important, that when we go through these extended phases, we don't get the 38% retracement, we don't get the 50% retracements, we get these little troughs, and then suddenly, what is the key? This is the key to say we're likely to break down, likely to get pulled back. I'm going to take you to the charts, I'm going to take you back over this whole year, what we've seen on the charts, and longer. I'm going to show you these extended runs and what actually happens with the troughs. You're going to be quite surprised, and this will help you determine when this market is likely to pull back, and especially if you are trading a chart that is likely to do that. So anyway guys, let's get to the charts.
Alright, let's get straight into this chart segment. So let me actually show you what I was talking about on the whiteboard. Firstly, these are the overall areas of weekly resistance on the chart. So let me just take those off the screen. We don't need the volume, so let's bring that down a little bit more. Let's only just focus on the chart here, okay? So we don't need anything on the chart. Remember, this is just about the actual chart itself. Now, here's what I'm saying here on the chart. You can see here that we actually have a run, but normally what we do is we normally get a run, it comes up, makes a peak, and comes down, makes a trough, right? And has a nice run back up, and then has a run back down, and so on and so forth. But there's times, right? There's times you can see even through here that we do get times, the market makes nice smooth flowing peaks and troughs, okay? But we do get times like we are right now when the market runs up, has like a little pullback and then runs back up, and has a little pullback and it runs back up, and a little pullback and it runs back up. Makes sense? So the market goes through these times, these phases here, when the market goes through these extended period of runs, when we don't get the decent pullback like we can see all through here. So, and that's when I started saying, what is the key differences? So I started going back over time to looking at the last couple of extended period of runs. So I said, okay, here's an extended period of run. Okay, so we got to run up and then we got to pull back. So what was the key indication? You can see here, right, we had this trough here. We had one or two down days, small little trough, run back up. And then we had this down day here, sideways, small little trough. It wasn't really a trough, they're just sideways, and then ran back up. Okay, you can see here how it actually made this trough here. All right, let me actually, you can see how that made that trough there, right? You can see how that it came down and bounced off. See that there? And then what happened is we got to close below this trough here. You can see how this close below here started this downward move. You see that? So it was a close below this small little trough that caused the pullback. Let's keep going through here. Okay, so you can see on, let me open the chart a bit more. So you can see like this one here, right? What happened here? This extended period of run. What actually happened with this extended period of a run? It wasn't acting normal. It just had a big run. Well, we had a little run, right? Had a run all the way up. We had like a little down day through here, and it kept running up, and a little down day through here, kept running up sideways, came down. Look, it gave this trough through here, came back up. It tried to break these peaks up here, gave like a bit of a double top. Okay, you can see here this was the trough there. And as soon as it closed below here, you can see it ran up, rejected it off that point through there. Do you see that point there? Okay, so I want you to recognize this. This is a pattern on the chart here. You can see this support and resistance level through there. Okay, and you can see how this was the trough. This was the trough before it took off, and we had this nice run. Everyone, you know, probably including myself at the time, was saying, "We're gonna get a pullback. We're gonna get a pullback. We're gonna get a pullback." And then suddenly it doesn't pull back, right? We just get this little trough and then it bounces off. But then what happens is this. You can see here that the market breaks down. It actually tried to close below it. It didn't close below it there. It came down, closed below it there. You can see it open, it ran up, and see it reject. It ran up, it rejected it, and closed right there. And look at down bar, down bar, down bar. So I'm not saying that this is the sign of a crash. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is this is the sign, this is the signal on the chart to say we are ready for that 38% to 50% retracement. Makes sense? So that is the key indication. So let's keep going back through here. Let's keep going back through the extended run. So you can see here we had a nice run through high side. What happens? It came down, and this one here was a little bit different, right? We can see here we had went sideways, had a little trough, and a little trough. Not really nothing breaking. It came back up, and it wasn't until it broke this trough here that we started to get some downside. But that wasn't really an extended period run, but it did have a nice run. But I hope you can see what I'm saying here. Let's keep going through here. Look at this run through here. Right, you can see that it was this point through here. Then you had a high trough, small little, a couple of day pullback, and then run back up, and a couple of day pullback, and a run back up, and a couple of day pullback, and a run back up. And look at this here. All right, it makes an equal peak, and but doesn't break the trough. Okay, and then it comes up, makes a higher trough. Okay, and then this point through here was the breaking point, and you can see that's when we actually got at least a decent pullback before we continued up. Make sense? Let's see if I can see any goes on my charts on this one here. Oh, here's another one, okay? So we have another extended period of run. We can see we have a little pullback and it runs back up. And we had a little pullback and it runs back up. And we can see here, this was the trough and then it runs back up. And then comes back down, and this was the trough and it runs back up. And that was the trough and it runs back up. And it wasn't until we broke that trough that we at least got some sort of a decent pullback before we continued up. Make sense? So it doesn't work all the time, but if you have a look at the charts, the peaks and troughs are generally the indicator to say what is likely to happen moving forward. Okay, so again, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but you can see that when it does start to break these troughs through here, we do actually get, we actually do get the pullback that we're all looking for. So that is the key. That is the key to look for if we are likely to get a pullback. So right now, where are we on the charts? Right now, as I'm doing this recording, you can see we have make a little high trough, little high trough, little high trough. It's actually working really nicely. Actually getting some really nice peaks and troughs. You know what I mean? All the way up, all the way up. So what would we want to see to actually say, okay, we're now likely to get a pullback? Well, we would want to see a breaking of that trough, now creating a lower trough. Because for right now, we're creating high troughs, especially high peaks and high peaks, and especially it runs down, comes back up, and then now it creates a lower peak. Then we're likely to get at least a 50% retracement pullback. Makes sense? Probably at least down to the 2,000 level on the S&P. So I hope this really helps you out, guys.
So traders, that peaks and troughs, right? Can you see how that peaks and troughs is definitely going to help you moving forward? I've been teaching peaks and troughs for a long time now, but I didn't recognize, I've been teaching peaks and troughs as in like pullbacks, right? Big run back up, 50% retracement, run back up, 50%, all that sort of stuff. But it's only recently that I recognized that it's in these extended runs, look at the small little peaks and troughs that's happening on that chart. It's actually telling you a story. So anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm out of here. Have an awesome weekend. Remember, success can be yours if you go claim it. So step up, take massive action, and face your fears.